There is a silence within us, deeper than any noise the world could ever make. Most people never hear it, because they are always running, chasing, resisting, distracting. But if you are here, listening to these words, something in you is already waking up. Let me tell you a story. When I was a young man, I thought I had it all figured out. A good job, a respected name, plenty of plans. But underneath it all, I was restless. Like a man sipping salt water, the more I drank of life's pleasures, the thirstier I became. So, one day, I left everything. I walked barefoot to a monastery in the mountains with nothing but a single bag and a question in my heart. Is there more than this? In that monastery, I met an old monk with a smile like the sunrise. He said to me, "You are not lost. You are just full of noise." I didn't understand at first. I thought he meant the city, the traffic, the chatter. But later I realized he meant my mind. We are all full of noise, stories we tell ourselves, fears we inherited, regrets we carry like heavy stones in our hearts. The journey is not about adding more, it is about letting go. That is the first lesson I want to share with you. Stillness is not emptiness, it is space. Space to feel, space to see, space to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Let me ask you a question, and really sit with this. When was the last time you were truly present? Not thinking about what's next, not reliving what already passed, but fully here, feeling your breath, noticing the sky, hearing the rhythm of your own heartbeat. We live like time is guaranteed, but every moment is borrowed. We're not promised another sunrise. That's not something to fear, that's something to honor. And yet, we numb ourselves. We scroll, we binge, we bury discomfort. Why? Because slowing down would mean facing ourselves. But my friend, that is where your power is. Not in controlling the world, but in knowing yourself. The second lesson: the wound is where the light enters. There was a young monk at our monastery who came from great trauma. He had lost his parents to war. His eyes held more pain than most grown men. But every morning, he would rise early, sweep the temple steps, and bow to the morning sun. One day, I asked him, "Why do you bow even when your heart aches?" He said, "Because the sun still rises for me, and I must rise for it." That stayed with me. No matter your pain, your regret, your past, there is always a new morning waiting for you. But you must show up to receive it. Life will not always be easy. In fact, it almost never is. But hardship is not a punishment. It is a teacher. The question is not why me, it is, what is this moment trying to teach me? Pause. Breathe. Close your eyes if you must. Let these words settle in your heart like falling leaves. Third lesson: gratitude is a form of prayer. When I lived in silence, I began to notice the smallest things: the sound of the wind in the trees, the warmth of tea on my tongue, the way the moonlight would spill across the stone floor. These were not small. They were sacred. Gratitude does not require a perfect life. It requires an awakened heart. And so, if you're watching this right now, I invite you. Look around. Notice something beautiful. A light. A leaf. Your own breath. You. Don't have to escape your life to find peace. You have to learn how to return to it. When we stop running from discomfort, we begin to discover who we really are. And who are you, truly? Not the titles, not the roles, not your past or your mistakes. You are awareness. You are stillness. You are the one who watches the thoughts come and go. And in that space is freedom. Let this be the beginning of your return, not to something, new, but to something ancient within you. We've only just begun this conversation. There is so much more to explore about purpose, about relationships, about how to live and how to let go. But before we continue, take a moment now, just one moment. Place your hand on your heart. Feel that gentle rhythm. You are alive. And that is a miracle. Next, we will speak about the power of intention, how your thoughts shape your world, and how clarity creates peace. You came back. That already means something. Most people want to change, but very few pause long enough to truly reflect. And fewer still stay with the discomfort of what they discover. But you are still here. And for that, I bow to you. In our last conversation, I asked you to place your hand on your heart. Do you remember that feeling, the subtle rhythm of life beating within you? Now I want you to ask yourself this: where am I going? Not your physical direction, but the direction of your intention. You see, our lives are not built by what we do occasionally. They are shaped by what we do consistently, and those actions come from the seed of thought, planted, nourished, or neglected. A wise teacher once told me, intention is like the wind that fills a sail. Without it, you drift. With it, you glide. But here's the truth. You are always sailing. The question is, are you choosing the wind? Or are you being tossed around by whatever storm appears? In the monastery, we rose each morning before the sun. Not because we were forced to, but because we had chosen a life of mindfulness. And that choice, that intention, made every step sacred. One day, a novice came to me. He was frustrated, angry even. He said, "Why do I still feel lost? I wake early. I meditate. I chant. But I feel no peace." I asked him, "Why do you do those things?" He said, "Because that is the way of monks." And I told him gently, "No, the way of monks is not routine. It is remembrance. What matters is not the action, but the awareness behind it. You could wake up at dawn, sit in lotus position, light incense, and still carry chaos within. But if you drink a cup of water, with reverence, if you speak a kind word with intention, you are walking the path." That is the fourth lesson. It's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. Your intention is the quiet architecture of your life. It shapes your words, your relationships, even your health. Have you noticed how two people can do the same task? One with joy, the other with resentment, and the result feels completely different. One cooks with love, and you taste it. One listens with presence, and you feel it. One walks with mindfulness, and even the earth seems to respond. And so I ask you now, lovingly, what is your intention? When you wake up, do you know why? When you speak, do you know what you hope to plant in the heart of the other? When you love, is it to fill a void or to share an overflowing cup? These are not questions to rush through. They are to be carried like sacred stones in your pocket, rubbed gently, remembered often. Now listen closely. If you do not choose your intention, the world will choose it for you. Advertisers will tell you what you should desire. Fear will whisper what you should avoid. Ego will scream for more attention. And you will feel exhausted, even when you've done nothing meaningful. But when you choose your intention, you begin to take your power back. You begin to live on purpose. And that is when peace begins to root itself inside you. I remember once walking with my teacher through a dense forest. We were silent for hours, just the sound of leaves, birds, and breath. Eventually, I asked him, "What is the most important thing I should remember?" He paused, looked to the trees, then said, "Your mind creates your world. so learn to tend to it as you would a sacred garden. Let me offer you a simple practice now. Each morning, before you pick up your phone, before you scroll, before you speak, close your eyes, take one breath, and ask, what is my intention today? Is it to be kind, to be patient, to be honest, to be still? Write it down if you must. Say it aloud. Whisper it to the sky. But let that be your compass. You will stray. That's okay. We all do. But a compass doesn't judge. It gently points north again and again. Now, as we prepare to move deeper into this conversation, I want you to remember something. Peace does not come from fixing the outside. Peace comes from aligning the inside. When your intention, your attention, and your action all point in the same direction, you will begin to feel a stillness that no storm can shake. And so, I invite you, as we continue this journey, to stay open. Because in page 3, we will enter the realm of relationships, not just with others, but with yourself. We'll talk about love, attachment, loneliness, and the art of being truly seen. But for now, just breathe. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are exactly where you are meant to be, if only you choose to be here. Welcome back, you have stayed through the stillness, sat with intention, and now we enter a more delicate space. The space between ourselves and others. Because even though the path of peace begins within, it is often tested, reflected, and deepened in our relationships. I want to start this part of our conversation by sharing a moment from many years ago. A woman came to the monastery. She had traveled far and looked exhausted, not just in her body, but in her spirit. She sat across from me and asked quietly, "Why do I always feel alone, even when I'm surrounded by people who love me?" I didn't answer right away. I just listened. And after a long pause, I said, "Perhaps it's not that you're unloved, but that you've forgotten how to receive it." She cried then. Not because of my words, but because something in her finally softened. You see, relationships are mirrors. They don't always reflect who we are. They reflect where we are. And if we are carrying pain, we'll see pain. If we're full of judgment, we'll find fault in everyone we meet. But if we're open, just a little, we begin to experience something miraculous: connection. Let's talk honestly for a moment. Love is not what you see in the movies. It's not fireworks or perfect harmony. It is presence. It is patience. It is allowing someone to be fully themselves in your presence without trying to change or control them. But how can we offer that if we don't give it to ourselves first? This is the 5th lesson. Until you make peace with who you are, I will struggle to be at peace with anyone else. I once knew a monk who, every morning, would bow not just to the Buddha, but to his own reflection in a small mirror. When I asked him why, he said, "Because the most difficult person I've ever had to forgive is the one I see every day." That stayed with me. We chase approval from others, but ignore the voice inside that says, "You're not enough." We love others fiercely, but speak to ourselves with cruelty. We want deep connection, but build walls around our most vulnerable truths. So I ask you now, when was the last time you sat with yourself, without judgment, without distraction, and just listened? Relationships don't thrive because 2 people are perfect. They thrive because 2 people are willing to show up again and again with honesty and humility. And here's something the world doesn't teach us often enough. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to create boundaries. You are allowed to walk away from relationships that no longer align with your growth. Letting go doesn't always mean giving up on someone. Sometimes it means choosing peace over pleasing. One day, I sat beside my teacher under a Bodhi tree. He was watching a group of ants walking in formation, completely undisturbed. I asked him, "Why do some relationships hurt so deeply?" He said, "Because we try to make people into who we want them to be, instead of learning who they already are." It is a painful truth, but also a freeing one. You cannot change another person. You can only create space for their growth, and yours. Now listen carefully. There is a relationship more important than any other. Not your partner, not your parents, not your friends, but the one you have with solitude. Can you be alone and still feel whole? Because when you find peace in your own presence, you stop seeking others to complete you. Instead, you invite them to walk beside you, not to fill a gap, but to share a light. That is the sixth lesson. Loneliness is not the absence of others. It is the absence of connection to self. If you are feeling unseen, unheard, unappreciated, start by seeing yourself. Sit in silence, place your hand on your chest, say to yourself, "I am here. I see you. I accept you." Do this long enough, and your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your relationships will shift too. Some will fall away. Some will deepen. Some will appear as if summoned by your new clarity. This is not magic. It is alignment. Because when you stop abandoning yourself, the world begins to meet you differently. As we move into the next part of our journey together, we'll go deeper into the art of letting go, how to release what no longer serves you, and how surrender can lead to freedom. But for now, I leave you with this reflection. Do your relationships nourish your soul or drain your spirit? Are you loving from wholeness or from lack? And can you give to others without losing yourself in the process? Sit with these questions. Let them stir something within you. And when you're ready, you've come far. We've walked together through the stillness of presence, the clarity of intention, the mirror of relationship. And now, we arrive at one of the most misunderstood yet liberating lessons on the path, the art of letting go. Letting go is not weakness. It is not forgetting. It is not giving up. Letting go is the highest form of wisdom, because it means you trust that peace is more important than control. I want to tell you a story. There was once an old monk who lived near the edge of a river. Every morning, he would walk to the water's edge and place a lotus flower upon it. One day, a younger monk asked, "Why do you do this?" The old monk replied, "To remember that everything I love must eventually float away." That young monk didn't understand at the time. He thought it was sad, even a little cold. But years later, after losing his own teacher, his attachment to the pain nearly broke him. In that season of grief, he remembered the lotus, and finally, he understood. Attachment is not love. It is the fear of losing love. You see, we try to hold on to things, people, moments, identities, because we believe they are the source of our happiness. But what if happiness is not in holding tighter, but in holding lighter? The seventh lesson is this: what you cling to owns you. What you release sets you free. We cling to ideas of who we should be. We cling to dreams that no longer fit. We cling to people who have already left us, in body or in spirit. And in all this clinging, we suffer. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the memory. It means loosening the grip on what's already changing. Because everything changes. That's the nature of this life. The seasons know it. The trees know it. The tide knows it. Only we resist. I remember sitting under the full moon one night, deeply conflicted. I had been asked to leave the monastery and serve in the outer world, to teach, to travel, to speak. But I didn't want to leave the stillness I had found. My teacher found me in that silence. He sat beside me and said, "Your peace is not in this place. It is in how you carry this place within you." That night, I realized something. We don't let go because we stop caring. We let go because we've learned to carry the essence, not the form. So I left, with tears in my eyes and gratitude in my heart. And now, I am here, with you. Because I let go, let me offer you something simple, an image, a practice. Imagine holding a leaf in your hand. It's beautiful. You admire it. But the wind begins to tug at it. And you resist. You squeeze it. The harder you hold, the more you crush it. But if you open your palm and allow it to rest there, the wind may take it, or it may not. Either way, the beauty remains untouched. That is letting go in your own life. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to out of fear? Is it an old story? A person who no longer aligns with your truth? An identity that no longer fits? Sometimes we must grieve the life we thought we wanted to make space for the life that is meant for us. That is not giving up. That is growing up. That is surrender. And here's the 8th lesson. Surrender is not silence. It is trust. It is saying, I may not know how this ends, but I trust that it will shape me. It is letting the river carry you when your arms are too tired to swim. You don't have to figure it all out today. You don't have to know the next step. You just have to release the weight that's keeping you from floating. Let me share one. More truth before we move on. Peace is not found in what you add to your life. It is uncovered in what you are willing to let go of. And so I invite you, after this conversation, to sit quietly with one question. What am I ready to release? Not because you're forced to, but because you deserve peace. And sometimes, peace begins with an empty hand. As we prepare to enter the final page of our journey, page 5, we will speak of legacy. Of what we leave behind, of how we live fully, love deeply, and walk lightly, so that when the time comes to say goodbye to this life, we do so not with fear, but with deep, reverent gratitude. You've made it so far, and I am honored to walk beside you, and now, here we are. You've stayed through the quiet, through the questions, through the truths that most people never stop long enough to hear. That tells me something about you. That tells me you are ready. There is one final path we must walk together, a path we will all walk sooner or later, the path of legacy, of meaning, of mortality. This is not something to fear. It is something sacred, because when you learn how to live, you automatically learn how to die without regret. I want to tell you a story. Years ago, I sat beside a man in the final days of his life. He had spent decades building a successful business, gathering wealth, earning the respect of the world. And yet, as he lay in silence, there was only one thing he whispered to me. I wish I had been more present. He didn't talk about his achievements. He didn't ask about his money. He didn't request someone read him the news. He asked to hear his daughter's voice. He wanted to smell the earth outside one last time. He wanted to laugh again, the way he did when he was a boy, before life became a race. He had lived, yes, but he had forgotten to live fully. And in his final days, what he craved wasn't more time, but more moments of realness. And that is the 9th lesson. A meaningful life is not measured in years, but in presence. So I ask you, if today were your last, would you feel complete? Would you say, yes, I have loved deeply, I have spoken truth, I have walked gently, I have made peace with myself and with the world? Or would you say, wait, I'm still chasing, still proving, still pretending? This is not meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you. Because so many of us live like we are promised, forever, and then spend our days waiting for a someday that never comes. But the wise ones, they live on purpose. They wake up each morning and ask, how can I serve? How can I be a blessing? How can I leave every soul I meet just a little lighter? You don't need to be famous. You don't need to change the world. You just need to change the moment you're in. With kindness, with truth, with courage. That is your legacy. You see, your legacy is not what you leave behind. It's what you give while you're still here. And often, it's not the grand gestures that last. It's the quiet presence, the listening ear, the steady hand. One of my teachers once said, "Live like your footprints will be studied by someone you'll never meet. What will your footsteps say? Will they say you walked with fear or with grace? Will they say you ran through life, chasing shadows, or that you paused to marvel at the sky? Will they say you reached for status, or that you reached into the hearts of others and planted seeds of peace?" We often think legacy is something we build once we make it. But no, legacy is built in every choice, in how you speak, in how you love, in how you show up, when no one is watching. This brings me to the final 10th lesson. A life well lived is a life of quiet impact. You are not too small. You are not too late. You are not too broken. Right now, today, you can choose to live with intention, to forgive someone, even if they never say sorry, to call someone you love and tell them, to sit in silence and befriend yourself again. And when your final breath does come, and it will come, as it does for all of us, may you meet it not with fear, but with soft eyes, knowing you gave what you could, loved as best you could, and left nothing unsaid. May your heart whisper, "I was here, and I lived awake." Let that be enough. Let that be everything. Now, we have walked through stillness, through purpose, through love, and letting go. And now, we stand on the edge of all of it, ready to return to our lives not with heaviness, but with sacred clarity. But before we complete this journey, there is one final message I wish to offer. A closing blessing, a reflection, a final moment of peace before we part. Let us finish this journey together with conclusion. Now, we have arrived, not at the end, but at a still place. A place within you that maybe you forgot existed. We have walked together through silence, through truth, through pain, through hope. We've spoken of presence, purpose, love, release, and legacy. And perhaps, somewhere along the way, something in you softened, or shifted, or awoke. If so, I want you to know, that was never my doing. That was you, your readiness, your courage, your heart calling you back to yourself. You see, wisdom does not come from listening to monks or reading books or chanting in temples. Wisdom comes from living, from pausing, from choosing not to run, from sitting in the mess and saying, "This too belongs." Let me offer you this final reflection. We spend so much of our lives trying to become someone, trying to succeed, to matter, to be seen. But what if, instead of trying to become, we remembered how to be? What if your worth was never in what you achieve, but in your capacity to love, to notice, to be awake in this moment? Imagine that. Imagine waking up each day and asking not, "What should I do?" but, "Who do I want to be while I'm doing?" That shift can change your life. There's a proverb we used to chant as novices: walk slowly, breathe deeply, leave no harm behind. And if you live by those words, you won't need statues, or plaques, or praise. Your life itself will be your offering. So I leave you now, not with instruction, but with blessing. May you walk with gentleness, even in a harsh world. May you speak with honesty, even when it's hard. May you forgive what you cannot forget, and love without needing to be perfect. May your days be full of ordinary beauty, a hot cup of tea, the laughter of a child, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the sound of your own breath in the morning, reminding you are still here. And when your path becomes heavy, may you remember this space, this moment, this stillness, because peace is not a destination. It is a return, a remembering of who you've always been beneath the noise. You do not need to be more. You only need to be fully you, present, awake, kind. That is more than enough. And now, before you go, I invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe. And whisper quietly to yourself, I am here. I am whole. I am enough. Take that truth with you. Let it echo softly in every step you take. Thank you for walking this path with me, for trusting me with your attention, for opening your heart to this conversation until we meet again. May you live slowly, love deeply, and leave gently. Peace be with you.